Oh, I looked fine when we started that video, and then okay. Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome to issue number 99 of
Oh,
Marvel.
whoa! I have to do some planning.
The fireworks should be ready to go, and all the other celebrations, all of the decorations we're gonna put on the castle.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and we're gonna celebrate for 16 months.
So yeah, we are doing obviously a special time right now. Schedule's been a little bit weird this week. I just got out of seeing a movie, so we decided to jump on.
That's what we're here because yesterday. Well, I guess today you traveled to LA.
Mm-hmm.
That's what hotel is that you're that's obviously a hotel. No one has a sleeping situation that looks like that with two.
Oh, this is my bedroom. This is
yeah.
I have queen beds. I get this art from sales at hotels going out of business. And
I was gonna say like that's a genre of art. Like no one has hotel art.
Hotel art, yeah, exactly. No, yeah. So I'm in LA and just got out of seeing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I am not emotionally recovered yet. So if you catch me like catching my breath at some point during this, that's exactly why.
So you can't review it. That embargoes. Wow, in like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But you can give your social reaction. So I believe you tweeted.
I did, yes.
And
you can see from the Laughing Place Twitter account at laughing_place.
I guess I could have had that ready, but
I can
Black
pretty
Panther hashtag Wakanda Forever, Black Panther emoji thing, is incredibly powerful and a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It's loaded with surprises, applause-worthy moments. The cast is phenomenal, and the Tita Wright is phenomenal. The cast is perfect, and the Tita Wright is phenomenal.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, I didn't repeat that word in the same sentence, did I? Yeah, no, this was as well acted as the MCU has been. You could just tell that the performances, like the emotion behind the performances, was genuine, and it was powerful is the right word for this movie. So be prepared to cry. You're gonna. There was sniffling throughout the audience for a lot of the movie. So, but it's also MCU fun. Like delivers on all the action and the craziness you could want. So it was fantastic.
I'm gonna we're not gonna get too deep into it because I don't want to violate whatever the line between review and social social reaction is. But you like the movie, right?
I definitely liked it a lot. Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing it again because there's a lot happening. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's when Marvel movies. It's always interesting to determine, like, for me, I always see it twice because one time I'm like so focused on what it means for the MCU, which is really not what movies are about, but I can't get it out of my head. So then I see it again to like actually appreciate it as a movie, and because this is it for. I mean, we have the Guardians holiday special, but then I know it's like, oh no, poor us. We have to wait till February, but like, we're gonna have
that's a longer break than we're used to lately. Like that's we're used to going from one show to pretty much having like a couple of weeks, maybe a month tops into a movie, and then maybe another month until another show hits on Disney Plus. And we don't have the next Disney Plus series lined up anytime soon, so it creates a bit of a gap.
Sure does.
All right, let's get to our normal, spiel here, and let's jump into this week's comics. And I feel like I read these a full day ago at this point, but yeah, this was a really strong lineup. I feel like my pick of the week is going to be obvious, but I'm excited
to Twitter. Yeah.
Right. All right, let's start off with Strange Number 7,
Yep.
continuing this the Clea as the Sorcerer Supreme story following the death of Doctor Strange. How'd you like this one?
This is my pick of the week.
Nice. Okay.
I don't know why. Like, it's hard for me to pinpoint why, but I just know I had the most fun reading it.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of like fun Steve Ditko Strange stuff in it. It's got
Yeah.
some neat plot things. It has some neat, like, some cool setup for future villainage. And so yeah, it was funny because I always like try and plan out like which comics we're gonna read each week, and then they change the release dates, and I realize, why do I do this? Um, but I was like, oh, I can't wait for the next one. So it's as I said, it's hard to pinpoint like exactly why it was so much fun, and I really don't want to spoil it either. But
Yeah.
it was just fun. Like, I don't know, it just felt like a comic book.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true of this one. I really liked the stuff going on with Steven and between Steven and Clea. And then
Is that not a
there's
spoiler?
I no, maybe.
Okay.
Well, come on, it's comic books. We know Stephen Strange is not going to be gone forever. But I won't say what he is doing or not doing. Kind of hard to describe what he was doing anyway. So there's also this really cool teaser at the end here that I mean leaves a I want to say leaves a door open for a mystery, but really it's the door is closed and the mystery is behind it. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. Like you said, you're like looking forward to reading the next one. I'm definitely interested in where this is going. There's some very interesting new villains in play here, and I want to know more about them. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. All right, let's move on. And I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is my pick of the week. Don't no need to draw it out because I think, once we saw the title on the lineup, it was going to be my pick of the week. But man, is Strange Academy good. This one really this pushes the story to making it feel like when Strange Academy started, it was cute, it was fun. It's this kid's story in a school, Harry Potter-esque almost.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's become this epic, this epic story. They're fulfilling this prophecy, and then things take a turn, and there's a big twist in there. And Emily is one of the some of the best character development Marvel Comics has given us in a while, I think. In such a short span. Obviously, there's been character development for characters like Spider-Man over the past 60 years, but for Emily to have debuted in what I think 2020, and to have come so far from where we're at, it's been really, really cool reading this story. So this issue in particular was fantastic. I can't wait to see where it goes. But man, Strange Academy needs to become a Disney Plus series because this comic has just been so good.
Well, and I always felt bad for because this was like a comic that they were really excited about, which the first run, and then it came out like right before the pandemic, and it got all screwed up, and it wasn't of no one's fault. Obviously, it would never really kind of got to get its groove going, but as you would get the issues, you would love them, and so I'm glad it kind of has this way to I don't want to say a reboot, but like giving you an entrance to the story where if you know everything that's come before it, you're excited. But at the same time, there's enough sort of clues in it that you don't really need to have.
Yeah, there's a good recap right in the beginning of this one too, which is done really well. So yeah, it's a fine jumping in point. But that being said, highly recommend reading everything before it too.
Yeah, which is all Marvel Unlimited too, at this point.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about the constant delays due to the pandemic,
right? Yeah, and this is absolutely a binge-worthy comic. Like you can fly through this one very easily. All right, we'll move on to and like I said, I think this was a really strong lineup of comics this week because I really enjoyed Moon Knight Annual #1. Quick detour. It's frustrating the numbering for annuals because this is not the first Moon Knight annual. So how do you call it #1? But
and comic runs never last 2 years. So like anymore, like they always are starting off a new #1. So you're never going to get an annual number 2
Right.
because like they don't last long enough to do that. I
Yeah.
was reading. I was like, because I just saw like one of the comics coming at the end of the year, X-Men Annual #1. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's the first X-Men Annual we've ever read.
Right. Yeah, you can go through and find about 20 different X-Men annual #1s in Marvel Unlimited right now. But that being said, this particular issue I liked a lot. What did you think?
I liked it too. I guess I didn't pay attention, and so I didn't realize it was an annual right away. And annuals are, usually longer stories,
Mhm.
kind of self-contained, um, and sort of outside of the normal run. And I was like, wow, this feels like a really full story. And and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's an annual, and especially with Werewolf by Night being sort of brought back to the forefront due to the Disney Plus special presentation.
Right.
And Moon Knight, still kind of picking up his popularity from the Disney Plus series. Um, I just thought it was a great mix. They have a long history together, so it's not out of the blue, but they found a way to make it not like I'm battling you again for the 14th time. So I thought it was very good. The Moon Knight stuff here too. His personality can get a little complicated, but they found a way to still have it without it being, a major. I don't know. I really like the Moon Knight stuff,
Yeah.
and I like the werewolf stuff. So when they came together, it just I thought the characterization was really well done. I don't know who wrote this. Now that I said,
Good question, actually. Oh, Jed McKay.
oh, wow,
Yeah.
he's just knocking out of the park this week. So yeah, um,
Yeah. Uh, yeah, no, I really liked it too. I thought they did some clever stuff with like the relationship between Khonshu, the god of the moon, and werewolves. I mean, the connection
right.
there makes a lot of sense. So I thought that was really cool. There was some really great Moon Knight character stuff with his past, his family. How do you pronounce the name of his daughter, by the way? I I kept going back and forth on it. I don't. Is it Diatrice? I don't know how you're supposed to say her name.
I guess I never said it because I was reading, and I never like had to say it in my head.
I was like, is it like Beatrice? Like it's just Beatrice with a D. I don't know how I'm supposed to be reading this
I
name, but
kind of, you know what? I kind of read it as like it's not spelled this way. But it was like Dotress because like I was thinking of like Karen Dotress from Mary Poppins fame, and
okay,
like so like but then in the end it doesn't really matter because it's a comic book. It's gonna be one of those
right.
things when they make the movie and you'll be like, oh, that's how
So
that works.
that's how I was saying this wrong for years.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean
so a
like I
lot of
finally figured out how to say Mixoplick, but whatever.
a lot of great stuff with those characters. Really cool return for Marlene. Just her
Right.
popping up kind of marks a big moment for Mark. No pun intended. All right, let's move on. We have two more to talk about. First is going to be the Amazing Spider-Man #12, and it's a good week for comics when I think Amazing Spider-Man was my least favorite of the week.
Oh really? Is this how many have we done so far?
We have one more, and I could see the argument for that being the one, but I don't
I don't
know.
remember what it is, which is probably not a good sign. Oh yeah. Um whew. I
Again,
really like
it,
this
it's
one. I
because
mean,
it's because the
first of
lineup
all,
is
this
so
is one
strong,
where
though.
don't read ahead on the solicitations because it kind of ruins this one. But
Sure.
no, I like the kind of mystery. I don't know. Ned's just such a cool character to me, and I don't know. And I mean, growing up on the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, Hobgoblin, who was the first
Yeah.
villain out of for whatever reason, really. Um, it was it. He kind of holds. I mean, I guess unless you count Kurt Connors, but um, it I don't know. Hobgoblin always has a special place in my heart, and Green Goblin obviously has the bigger sort of prominence, or Gold Goblin, as the case may be. But I don't know. I just really like anytime that plot device comes. So yeah. I mean, maybe it's the least favorite, but that's like saying that's like my least favorite Disney park. It's not.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's not that this was bad. I did enjoy this issue. It's just this week's lineup was so good. that I think, this might have been at the bottom of my list. I do really like this. I think my only problem with it is the look of Hobgoblin in this story arc. He has this weird sort of goofy, sad face pretty often, and it like bothers me. But aside from that, no, I do really like the story. You're right. There's a cool mystery element to it with a couple twists and turns. I am really liking the Norman Osborn stuff in this story arc here, and it's like, fool me once, fool me twice. We're at like, I don't know. Well, it's been 60 years, so at least 60 times for Norman Osborn. Do we trust him now? Like, it feels like they're really pushing that we should be trusting Norman Osborn, and I just can't buy in.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about how that whole, what was that thing, the Kindred storyline just kind of kept going on
Yeah.
and on, and you're like, I get it. He's done bad things. But like the way they resolved it, where he was like kind of absolved of his sins in a way, which I'm not quite sure how that works, but whatever. It kind of like gave you a doorway to be like, this isn't just him pretending. Like there was an actual change. So maybe, but it's I mean, it won't last, but
Right.
it's fun to go on the journey.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how we get from where we're at with Norman to, the inevitable next sighting of the Green Goblin. All right, let's talk about our final issue here, and it is a big one because this was the big crossover event we've been talking about for a while now. Judgment Day #6, the finale of this story. I really enjoyed Judgment Day as a whole. I am still a little up in the air on how I feel about this finale. What did you think?
So part of me loved it because it wasn't just a big battle at the end that these events can come to. In the end, I don't know where we leave it does not seem like this is my bigger problem with the events of Marvel lately. So they start doing like all these different events. Like there's always an event or two going on. But they, because they're sort of independent of the whole line, the ramifications are very minute.
Yeah.
And so in this one, I kind of look back and I go, I don't know what, I mean, there's one thing that could be a plot point moving forward, but I don't know that it really impacted anything.
Sure.
And so basically it's like, the stakes are high because you have a lot of characters, but I kind of miss the days when like events were transformative.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Suit Spider-Man or, stuff like that. I just feel like I will forget this event ever happened. I mean, I don't know that it has any lasting impact on me.
Well, I think the impact here is on the X-Men side of and the Eternals, but the Eternals have, less of an overall impact on the Marvel Universe as a whole. But I think the X-Men side, because like you look at the Avengers as sort of the third leg of this story, they have their own thing going on right now with Avengers Forever, and
right, and that's why I don't like. I mean, it's billed as Avengers, X-Men, Eternals.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an X-Men event featuring the Avengers,
right?
It's not, and this was always. I mean, I didn't know it, until I read it, but it's really like an X-Men's Eternals thing where the Avengers show up because
they kind of have to,
right? I mean, it's just, and because the Avengers are dealing with their own thing, it's just kind of like, well, this isn't actually like when you read Avengers, this has nothing to do with anything, and I don't know. I guess I just what's the point? Like, besides you felt like you looked at the calendar and you're like, oh, we gotta do something. Well, the Avengers need to be able to. I mean, the X-Men need to be able to do this now. So okay,
right. Yeah, no, that is the unfortunate nature of big crossover events these days. I do, when this all hits Marvel Unlimited and, we have all of the tie-in issues and everything, I want to go back and reread through all of it all at once because it'll just be more cohesive. And you can kind of, when you read it like that, and this might be my preference, to be honest, as opposed to reading on a weekly basis, is to go through and read a story from start to finish, with all the tie-ins and all that, and kind of block out everything else that's going on. So you don't really have to worry about the other Avengers, or the other Spider-Man story, or actually Spider-Man doesn't really have a role to play in this one, does he? But that sort of thing, you can really just focus in on this one story. I think this will be enjoyed a lot more that way than it
Well, and
was.
it's also weird too, though, because even with the X-Men, they had this whole Moira McTaggart
Mhm.
plot that
Yeah.
this doesn't really move forward. And
Yeah, well, there is some weird stuff with Orcus here that I'm not entirely sure. Like, I feel like that's got to be another. Well, we do still have the what do they call the post? There's one more issue for Judgment
yeah,
Day
the
coming.
Omega issue.
Omega, yes, that's what it was. So I'm sure we'll get some information there, but it feels like there's like an Orcus tie-in that we should get at some point too. So I don't
And we
know.
talked about how the X-Men stakes are so super. I mean, they even mention it here, right? Like the X-Men are battling. It was like, well, if they can be resurrected, well,
Right.
yeah. And like, I don't know. I kind of that makes for very boring storytelling.
Yeah.
And I don't. I mean, like I think the X-Men have picked up lately. Like, we've talked about how we've liked some of the titles better, and I know they have their own event, coming up. Sins of Sinister,
Right.
something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and so and then I think Death of X is like the big thing at the end, whatever that
Mhm.
means. And um, I don't know. I just feel like we've been on this Krakoa journey, and I don't know that I don't see where the end game is, or is this just supposed to be the status quo for the X-Men? Doesn't feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're reaching the end of Krakoa pretty soon, but we'll see. I could see a path where Judgment Day set us in that direction. Um, but I'm
Well,
curious to
and it's
see if they
interesting
actually
too
follow through
because the character that's sort of the saving grace of this story isn't really that involved in the bigger story here anyway. Neither an X-Men or an Eternal. But it's that's what it just makes it. I don't know. Like, I'd love to know what were they trying to accomplish here. Like, it's a fine story. I'm not trying, and it had some nice twists and turns, which sometimes we don't get in events.
that. Right.
So I like that, but I just, in the end, I guess I just don't know what was the what why does it exist?
Yeah, I think we'll have to let the X-Men stories following up play that out for us, and then kind of determine what the ramifications of this crossover event were. All right, that does it for comics. Let's jump into the news from the past week. Excuse me, and we go from having no news to talk about to just 2 trailers dropping in a week. So
By the way, I don't know if you saw this. You see the big news that broke this evening?
this evening, no, I have not.
We'll get there.
Okay, all right. So let's start off with a trailer here. We talked about this on Inside LP earlier in the week. I kind of rambled about it, but I want to hear your thoughts more on the Quantum Mania trailer that we got. What was this, like Monday? I think this came out.
Yes, I believe so. So it's interesting. I've seen a lot of. I won't say exactly this, but I saw a little bit of this at Comic-Con. Saw a similar thing at D23 Expo. And what amazes me about it is you're able to go from the silliness of Baskin Robbins to King conquering. And Ant-Man's always been sort of a lighter character, but now you're making him deal with basically the heart. I mean, presumably the heart of the multiverse saga. And
Right.
so, I'm a huge, huge, huge Peyton Reed fan. I mean, just out of I love it when nice guys finally win after, you know, directing the 14th Herbie remake and Honey I Shrunk the Audience. But I So I have faith that it'll be fine. I'm just really curious. I mean, to me, this has sort of jumped to the project I'm most interested in
Yeah,
because not even just like because it's you know obviously dealing with Kang and gonna set something sort of. I would say it almost comes across like the Civil War of this phase or
right.
whatever, but I just taking the tone of Ant-Man but applying it to whatever's going on here um, is I'm interested to see how that plays out. Like it's just hard to imagine this movie settling in the middle of it. Like Carla, Luis is like talking about like you know meeting
Anything
Satan.
and everything.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm really interested to see it's different having Ant-Man be sort of at the center of what is really kicking off the next saga here. Well, I guess not kicking off. We've kind of had our toes in the water for the multiverse saga for a while now, but now we're really getting into it with this. One noticeable absence from this, and we learned during first, I think, San Diego Comic-Con, that MODOK is going to be a part of this movie, and he's not in the trailer at all. And this trailer makes it seem as though there's not really a lot of room for him in this movie. So I'm really interested to see how he fits in.
Well, I'm going to break in with the news that we got because it'd be weird
Okay.
to come back to it. We got some casting news for this film.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, maybe I did see this. What is his name now? I only know him
William
as.
Jackson Harper
There you go. Yeah.
from The Good Place
Yeah.
has been cast in a secret role in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now the
Interesting.
internet is presuming he's Reed Richards.
Whoa. Yes, I have heard that that fan cast theory was out there in the past.
Well, and that's what's interesting to me is Kang is, and depending on how you look at things, related to Reed Richards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would not surprise me and would make a little bit of sense.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't
Um,
know, I'm not, I mean, it's funny because like I'm familiar with him from The Good Place, but that's the only thing I've seen him in. So, I mean, at least that I know of. So I don't know how he would be as Reed Richards, and I'm not in a place to judge it. But
sure. He does play the nerd very well in The Good
right,
Place.
yeah, and I mean that's really all you need from
Right.
from Reed Richards.
Yeah. No. I know he's getting more and more popular. He's in a show called The Resort, I believe it's called, and getting a lot of love for that. So, and he's a fantastic actor from what I've seen. I really like him. Whether he's Reed Richards or not, I'm happy to see him in the MCU. That would be very interesting, and that's huge if he is in fact Reed Richards. I thought you were going to tell me for a second that he is MODOK, which would have been pretty weird, but also wouldn't be totally opposed to that either. So,
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know who he is. That's just what the internet. Reed
right,
Richards was trending, and I
sure.
clicked on it because I was like, why? And then
All right, so let's move on to another trailer that dropped a few days after, and that is the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. What did you think of this one?
I am contractually obligated to enjoy anything that features Kevin Bacon.
Oh, okay. There were a lot of you could have just said Marvel. You could have said dogs. I wasn't sure which one.
I mean, I am excited to have the Cosmo make a presence.
Yeah, make
I've
a
been waiting
present.
for that for a long, long time.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. It looks ridiculous. It looks funny. You got Groot looking like he's leveled up to Machoke, just for Pokemon joke to throw in there that nobody's gonna get that's watching this. Uh, but yeah, it looks really funny. The whole cast is there. I'm interested to see if we get a Gamora sighting at all, because the whole premise of this is Star-Lord is upset because he still can't find Gamora, and so Mantis wants to give him a real Christmas, and then they try to kidnap Kevin Bacon. So yeah, it looks as ridiculous as you would hope, and I can't wait for it.
I don't mean to throw a wrench into your plans here, but I don't think we can really talk about this without talking about how this is one of the last James Gunn projects for Marvel,
Well,
because he is now going to be the Kevin Feige essentially of DC.
well, no wrench detected here because that was next on the list. Yeah, he is. He is the. I was surprised at the title, the CEO and co-chairman of DC Studios. So, and going along with this, they coined DC Studios and switched from the DCEU, which was always a terrible title, to just the DCU now. So,
But yeah, I don't know why they just didn't do that to begin with.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you never want to name anything EU. I mean, besides the European Union, and yeah, like, I mean, we understand. Well, anyway, I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, this isn't a DC show, but they have a lot more of weird, so like independent projects, television. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I mean, I'm hoping it's good, just because good movies are good movies, and I don't view them as competition really, because it's not like they're releasing the same day. You can go to 2 movies a year and still be okay.
Sure.
But I mean, I've been I mean, I grew up with DC, and their movies have been so bad. It's like, I mean, I remember when Man of Steel came out, and I'm at Comic-Con, and I'm talking to a friend of mine, and Mark Waid comes up, and he just starts railing about Man of Steel, and I'm like, thank you for making me feel good about how much I hated that movie. So
yeah, it's been rough. Another big thing about this, though, is this is giving them a creative head in charge of all of those branches. So the films, the television, the animated series, things like that. So it's not going to be, DC has been a studio making movies, and then you got your CW universe with those shows. You got shows like scattered on like HBO Max and things like that. So, and it's been all over the place, and now you're finally going to have it sort of all under one roof.
Well, I mean, and the challenge though is just that they have this other stuff that already exists. So what do they? I mean, I guess you can always reboot it, but like, there's already. I mean, you have what's it? Black Adam just came out teasing a Man of Steel sort of continuation. You have Shazam 2 ready to come out. You have Aquaman 2 ready to come out. Did that not come out? Man, this must take them 42 years to make that movie.
Can't imagine why there weren't any difficulties hanging that one up at all.
Well, and then the Flash, who knows what the heck's going to happen to that one?
Yeah.
And so it's like, they were trying to do this already, and not that they, can't have a clean slate, but it's, I think, going to be like, what do? You tell The Rock, like, oh no, you don't, we're not going to make a Black Adam 2, because I don't know, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm just, I mean, Kevin Feige, I think at the Black Panther premiere is just like, hey, I'm just happy, I'll be first in line to see it. So, kudos to him, and I just hope it's good. I mean,
and on the Marvel side of it,
as Disney fans, we see that Disney does better when Universal does well.
Right.
It kind of pushes them, and I'm okay with. I mean, I think Marvel doesn't need the push, but it can't hurt.
Yeah, and this does shut the door on James Gunn doing anything else for Marvel. He is exclusive to DC, for the foreseeable future at least. So,
Guardians. Makes you wonder if they could ever come up with like a Marvel DC crossover.
I don't know. That would be, I mean, as blockbuster as it could get. Really, I don't think it gets any bigger than that. So,
right. I don't think you want it to get any bigger than that.
Right, exactly. All right, so we started off talking about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and we have a little bit of news to talk about. At this point, though, I guess this news is kind of already passed. The song should be out now.
Yeah, it's actually I like it.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about music. I couldn't tell you. I don't even know if I know a Rihanna song. I presume if I heard one, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know that song," but I couldn't tell you
Yeah.
which one.
Well,
But I
I'll
like
be
it.
honest, I didn't realize it had been so long, at least according to our own Marshall, who I trust with these sorts of things, that it's been 6 years since Rihanna has put out new music. That feels like, man, it does not seem like it's been that long. But yeah, so big deal here with her dropping new songs on the, new song on the soundtrack. But I will say there is a second one, and I actually like the other one more than this one here. So. Yeah, so Rihanna, this song is "Lift Me Up," I believe is the title of it, right? I think that's what it was. Yeah, and it'll hit differently when you see the movie too. So
And now I know how to spell "lift me up" in Wakandan.
yeah, and Rihanna,
And
yeah.
Rihanna.
Also, regarding Wakanda Forever, over at the AMC at Disney Springs, there are costumes on display. You've got an M'Baku costume and a Shuri costume on display. So there's M'Baku, and you can see Shuri over here. Pretty cool that they have those just at the. I feel like the AMC at Disney Springs doesn't get stuff like this very often.
Well, it's interesting. I felt like this is the first movie that I feel like we're back, like fully back. Like, obviously we had Doctor Strange, but this is one where it just feels like all those things that we used to do, like having exhibits like this at Disney and premieres and fan events and all that stuff. Like, there's no like limit holding us back on this one, which is not, like we're back at theatrical. Also, you don't have that like weird, should it go to streaming conversation anymore? Like, that's pretty settled that movie people will still go to the movies, and that's a good business decision. So I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad the theater experience is at least live and well for this film.
Yeah, and I mean, this also feels like, I would say, like No Way Home had that big theater experience. Like that was expected to be a huge blockbuster, but this is a different vibe. Right. Well, first of all, Sony's not involved, so that's one. But
yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's a Disney release, so we know what we're used to with that. Like all the things that Disney does to support a Disney movie.
Right.
Here. Like the 2020 special that randomly shows up because
which we'll talk about in just a second here. But Black Panther, though, too, was the first Marvel and only Marvel movie to be nominated for, Best Picture. So, like, this is a different vibe. You go into something like Doctor Strange expecting craziness and, like, all these ramifications for the MCU. You go into this movie expecting a, like, Best Picture nominee, like that sort of caliber of movie.
With no ramifications for the MCU.
None whatsoever. No, there's obviously some, but it's different. It feels like a different category. It feels a little bit, I don't want to say smaller because, it's obviously on a big scale, but again, the performance,
it stands on its own, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I think they delivered on something worthy of being in the Best Picture conversation. So, but that's another talk we can have later on. You mentioned it already, but oh no, I got one more thing before we get to that. Wakanda and Black Panther characters showing up at Funko. Let me get the dates for you on this one because November 16th.
It's after the movie comes out.
Yeah, November 16th to the 28th. You can see all your favorite characters from the Black Panther franchise, life-size pops, and then props and costumes from the movie as well, which I thought was pretty cool and would probably be a little bit weird to see lined up with the Funko stuff, but Funko headquarters is a bucket list thing for me, by the way. It looks like it's so much fun.
This is the one in Hollywood, right?
Was this the Hollywood one? That's a good question.
I thought so.
Yes, it is. The Funko Hollywood store, yeah.
Yeah, so which is not a long walk from the El Capitan. So if you want to do like a whole Disney Hollywood experience, you can.
Yeah, there you go. if you're going to see Wakanda Forever at the El Capitan. That's perfect little follow up. Okay, so you mentioned the 2020 special, but we didn't really get any information about it.
Yeah, I think someone leaked it and wasn't supposed to because they didn't put a. It was just Disney's on the red carpet tweeted about it, at least what I
Okay,
saw, and
gotcha.
then like it's gonna air, which they presumably should know because they're based on ABC 7. But they didn't put out it now. 2020 usually doesn't release their stuff till like a couple days before, just because news happens and they change their mind. But because what news would happen, 3 days before an election? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a 1 hour special.
Yeah, it's called Black Panther: In Search of Wakanda, and it airs Friday, November 4th at 8/7 Central on ABC. So there you go. But again,
I'm sure we'll make Mac watch it and write it
up. Yes, I will be happy to. Okay, a few other little things here. One, we got some holiday programming for Disney Channel and Disney Junior, including, obviously, Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends. 2 episodes here. You've got Halted Holiday. When all roads to the city are blocked on Thanksgiving, Team Spidey works to clear up traffic. Adorable. Merry Spidey Christmas. Team Spidey uses their glow webs to save Christmas after baddies try to ruin it. So there you go. A couple holiday episodes of Spidey and His Amazing Friends. And
go.
As always, we'll finish up with some comic book related news. This one I thought was interesting. Demon Wars Down in Flames. So obviously from the style, the art you see here, Peach Momoko, the very unique artistic styles of Peach Momoko, telling the Demon Wars story is her interpretation of a Civil War, Marvel Civil War story. And this particular comic within that story is combining it with the Phoenix saga. And so you've got Magic facing off against the Phoenix within this Civil War setting here. So thought that was a really cool combination of Marvel stories. Then you throw in this unique art style, and it should be a pretty interesting comic. And that one is coming.
Gonna guess December.
February.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so we still got some time for that one. And last thing we wanted to talk about here is just some really cool variant covers for the upcoming Fantastic Four series from Ryan North and Iban Coelho. These are from legendary Marvel artist Alex Ross. So you got the Reed Richards one there. You can see there's one for each character, and you can see them all on Laughing Place.
So how many are
there? There's I think 5. No, so you know what bothers me about this? The one for Johnny Storm it's Johnny Storm. It's not the Human Torch. And I feel like it could have been so cool if you make it the Human Torch, but no, it kind of just looks like Reed, but younger.
Oh, so okay. I want to go on a little thing about the Human Torch. Do we have time?
Okay.
So during the Black Panther premiere, they kept talking about the Submariner, and he's one of the oldest characters in Marvel, because they couldn't decide. Like, there's the judgments out about whether the Human Torch or Namor was first. And we're not talking Johnny Storm. We're talking, the robot,
like synthetic Human Torch. Yeah.
And now I want to see him in the MCU. We don't even have the Johnny Storm Human Torch, but I'd love to see like a Defenders, like old school. Like,
well, we got a reference to him in First Avenger, right? I think it was that one.
We did. Yeah, we did get a reference to him.
Yeah, I think you just see like the suit on display, and I think they may have put a different name on him, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But
yeah, had to put a different name on him.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh man, I want to say things. I have to bite my tongue for 2 weeks here. Although I will say this one is a little bit easier than some of the previous ones. Like Doctor Strange was such a hard one to not say anything about. Um, this is a little bit easier than that.
We're gonna have to hit the end broadcast so you can tell me what you want to say.
All right. Do we have anything else before we wrap things up? What's our schedule look like as far as live video?
Empty. So we're gonna be, we got Halloween coming up, so we're gonna be enjoying that. On Saturday, Jeremiah's actually gonna be on the studio a lot for an event for Firebuds, a trick or treat event in celebration of First Responders Day. So
yeah, Jeremiah and I both flew into LAX today, but at different times, and we just never crossed paths.
That's hilarious. But that was because he booked on his own. He's not there for work, except I'm making him work while he's there. But okay, well, and don't forget, you can always watch everything on go. If you're ever just bored and want to put on see the latest Disney news, visit laughingplace.com/TV. We'll pop up when we're live, and with the latest breaking news and analysis. So you can check that out.
Yeah, that little ticker down there wasn't just there for no reason. That is hopefully there to provide you with some useful information. All right, so yeah, that's gonna do it. We're gonna have a Zacks of Life on Monday, our spooky Halloween episode, talking about Werewolf by Night. Also next week, I suppose, is gonna be Marvel Time 100. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they're oh, it's not a great week for it, but whatever. Well,
listen, if we have to take a week off, it's not like that hasn't been part of our plan.
I know, but like we got to make it special. We got to make it extra size. We're gonna charge an extra $1 and have like 5 million covered.
Well, I think if we're gonna make it extra special, I think at this point we just hold it for Marvel Day. So episode 100 coming on June 16th.
That's like 8 months from now.
We
have like 12 Disney Plus specials by then.
There was a point where things were lining up where 100 was going to be on this past June 16th, and then it just fell apart from there.
We just sailed right through that, didn't we?
Missed our mark by just a little bit. All right, let's wrap things up there before we.
We always have issue 200 to look forward to.
Right.
A couple of years.
All right.
How long have we been doing this? Have we been doing this for over 2 years?
I don't think over. I don't know. I have to go back and see when the first one was posted now.
Because if we do one a week, there's 52 weeks in a year. We've missed plenty a week.
We have missed plenty of weeks. Yeah. So yeah, we have done this over. Yeah, we started this right around when everything was shut down. So in 2020. There you go. All right. Bye, everyone.